The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with John Murphy, who is an award-winning author, speaker, business consultant, and Zen entrepreneur. Now, drawing on a diverse collection of experiences as a corporate director, spiritual mystic, and management coach, John has written over 16 books and advised countless corporate clients on building businesses with presence. His newest book, Zen Entrepreneur, is about leadership and creating a culture of innovation and fearlessness in business. John Murphy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. Great being here.
I'm really grateful to have you on. All my guests are really different in so many different ways, and we're going to get to talk about Zen as well today, which is a subject that I've been wanting to do for a while, so I really appreciate you coming on to share that with business as well. You've done so many books. I cannot believe the amount of books done. Is it 16?
Well, there's 18 published, and the 19th is coming out in March of 16, so yeah, I'm plowing away here.
Where is all this knowledge oozing from?
Well, it's a great question because it's not like I originate everything. I have a lot of creative ideas, and but I'm a business consultant. I teach classes, I give speeches all over the world, and I meet a lot of great people. And quite honestly, a lot of the ideas are theirs. They suggest things to me. Hey, you ought to consider writing a book about this or that. And I ended up, for example, after my first book. This was over 20 years ago. My older brother read it, and he said, John, you ought to write an allegory. And I said, that sounds good. What's an allegory? I didn't even know. It's like a novel. It's like a parable. It's a business. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a business book, but in fact, he even gave me a copy of one as an example. I read it, and I wrote one. And then a professor friend of mine read that and said, you know what, John, you got to write the sequel to this. So I was like, well, yeah, that sounds good. So I wrote the sequel. And then later on, I ended up writing a prequel. And so a lot of these ideas just unfolded, and I was, I guess, awake enough and attentive enough to listen for feedback and listen to people and then act on it. And that's what Zentrepreneurs do.
Very true, and we're going to get into all this, and I think with even you're very honest, that you're saying they weren't originally your ideas, but you've still gone on to help a lot of people with the material that you've written. You'll never, as I say to some guests, quite know who you've helped, but you have, and I would say you can't deny yourself from the process as well. As much as it may not have been an original idea, you still made it happen. You still manifested it. It is
sure.
you.
I'm the one that took the risk, and I'm the one that took the action and took the responsibility, took ownership. Those are all very important characteristics for anyone who wants to, do something with their life. So I acted. I took risk. I made a lot of mistakes, quite honestly, Kevin. That's what Zentrepreneurs do. Although, we don't really think of them as mistakes. We think of them as undesired outcomes. All right, I tried something that didn't work like I thought it would. So I need to adjust and try again.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into your latest book, let's just go back to your background here as well. Now, at age 3, am I right to say you had 2 near-death experiences?
Yes, exactly. And let me even precede that by telling you that I was born on Friday the 13th, and my name is Murphy, as in Murphy's Law. So put these things together. Your name's Murphy. If anything can go wrong, it will. You're born on Friday the 13th, and by the age of 3, you've almost killed yourself twice. That could throw you off a little bit, and it did. It made me doubt myself quite a bit growing up, and it made me anxious and stressed and worried. And fortunately, I was still alive, and then I went on to work my way through some other serious accidents. I almost lost my foot in a lawnmower at age 17. Some pretty harsh stuff. But the thing I learned from it, Kevin, is that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as some people say, and you learn from it, and it really sent me on this path toward getting beyond self-doubt, getting beyond anxiety and fear and stress, which so many people suffer with today. How do you transcend that to a point where you're not afraid? You're not afraid to screw up. You're not afraid to take risks, and you're not foolish. You're not careless. You have to be wise in what you choose to do, but you don't get held back like so many people do. So that was really the silver lining for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all surround ourselves by people sometimes that get really bloody stressed out over the most silliest things. When you look at the bigger picture, and you say to yourself, "Well, if this must be in all areas of your life, it's like this. As soon as it becomes unbalanced, you come out of balance. You're not able to, just bring yourself back into harmony easy, are you? Some of these people that we bump into."
That's right. And the thing is I'm a huge advocate and proponent for helping people understand the law of attraction. And I'm sure you're quite familiar with the law of attraction. And we attract what we feel, what we vibrate at an energetic level. So if we're feeling stressed, if we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling afraid, not only is that physically shooting cortisol, the stress hormone, through our body and breaking down our immune system, but on a more universal, energetic level, we are actually calling for more things to be stressed about and anxious about and fearful about. So once I learned to appreciate the power of the law of attraction, and that I could, in fact, through my thinking and my attention, I could let go of thoughts of fear. I could let go of thoughts of failure. I didn't have to hold on to those things. And in letting those go, I let go of that vibrational energy, and I let go of the manifestation of those very results. And that just opened up the world for me.
That's really interesting. I see. So you embraced it was your absolute truth that the law of attraction manifestation works, and you let go of all the other crap that didn't serve you, and you're proof now that it has worked for you, the law of attraction.
Yeah, and the thing is if we don't let go, I think letting go is just an absolutely incredibly important skill, essentially, to learn, a practice. It's really a practice of letting go. If we don't learn to just let go of the things that annoy us, that stress us out, that worry us, because so often the mind is not in the present. The mind is thinking about tomorrow or the next week or the future, or the mind is thinking about the past and some guilt or regret or shame or something that we're holding on to. And when the mind isn't present, that's when the body experiences stress or fear or anxiety or guilt or any of these energies that aren't healthy. And so by being mindful, by being present, by being attentive to the now, and being aware of the power of the law of attraction, because a lot of people think it's a choice. Well, you either believe it or you don't. It's a universal law. It's working whether or not you know about it or not. So, we've all said and heard misery loves company over the years, but nobody's never necessarily understood that misery is an energy. Misery is a frequency, an energetic frequency. And of course, it's going to attract more of the same. That's what the law of attraction is all about.
Absolutely, so interesting what you're saying. And when you use the word energy, then those who may not believe in that this power exists, that we can have this, when you start using scientific words in a sense, then they're like, oh well, yeah, energy can't be destroyed or created, so yeah, I kind of get that maybe that could work like that then.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and everything's energy. You can any credible scientist today will tell you that the entire universe is made up of energy. You and me, everything we see, everything we experience, songs are energy. Books have an energy frequency to them. And there's the other thing that's important to recognize is that you might not like the same music that I like, because they're different frequencies, and certain frequencies calibrate well with other frequencies. right? Sometimes we call this chemistry, relationships. So those two people have a good chemistry, but it's really an energy. You know, they have a good energetic frequency together. And so when you start to realize that everything we see and experience in life is a form of energy, it makes life so much more fascinating, all right, to understand and to navigate. So we can now navigate it more successfully by first tuning into what energy, what energetic frequency am I putting out there. And by the way, if you want to know that, just look at your results. Because whatever you're receiving in life, you know, we reap what we sow, okay? And whatever we're reaping in life is a exact match to what we're putting out there. And once people figure that out, it's like, wow. Wow. So you mean if I change the way I think about certain things? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
So if we're not living the life we've got, if whatever areas of our life are maybe a bit painful right now, and if we have the to be brave to face them, you know, to face those areas, then basically we could say to ourselves, right, okay, so I'm not happy with this. I've created this energy in a sense because it's, you know, it's something reflective of me. How does one get into that part of them that's causing the problem in the first place and recognize it's them?
The first thing we have to do is wake up to it and take ownership, because they're the most common thing for people to do. And Carl Rogers, a renowned psychiatrist, coined the term locus of control. And he talked about external and internal locus, or place of control. Most of the population, you probably know folks like this, I certainly do, put that locus externally. So whenever there's a problem with their life, they're looking out there externally for someone to blame, for a cause that's beyond themselves. You know, maybe somebody I could sue because I hurt my foot in a lawnmower. It has to be the lawn mowing company. You know, that external locus of control. The first thing we have to do is look internally to say, I got something to do with this. You know, and what do I need to learn from it? What do I need to do differently? Because at that moment of truth, we're either playing victim or champion, really. And whenever we're playing the blame game, that external locus of control thing, at an energetic frequency, we're just calling for more things to be a victim of. We're calling for more trouble in our life. You know, and when we take ownership and we take that champion frequency, it's like, you know what, I screwed up and I have to pay for it, and I'm going to overcome it and learn from it and move on. We receive more into our life to be that are victorious.
It's so true what you're saying. I can relate to that as well. As in, when things have not gone right in my life, you know, I've been like, oh, you know, I'm not worthy, you know, it's not meant to be for me, you know, whatever the negative tape that you're playing in the back of your mind, you've actually made those situations happen because law of attraction says, yes, that's all it knows. Yes, you're not worthy. Yes, you didn't deserve that. Yes.
Listening to everything you think, not just say, everything you believe, because a belief is just a thought that's thought over and over and over again. Okay, everything you value, and it's responding in kind. And it's amazing to me how many people, I've asked people, do you want to heal from an illness? Because I can teach you ways to, at an energetic way, to let it go. When you let it go, it lets you go. Serious injuries and serious illnesses in some cases. They don't want to. They identify with the illness. And they lock into traditional therapies and traditional things but it's a mindset. So when you look at people who have been just immensely successful, when I talk about success, I'm not talking about just financial. I'm talking about people that are joyful every day. They're grateful every day. They're upbeat. You get excited just being around them. They're just truly amazing people. They think differently. They think differently.
Yes, and I completely agree with you. Now, obviously they are still sent their own tests in a way, like we all are. We're all pushed off balance sometimes by whatever it is in our life, and it causes us to go into modes of depression, different levels. How does someone that's so balanced like that keep that negative tape from replaying in a sense? Because is it not a natural thing to go into a lower state when things aren't working out, when we're really being tested? How do you combat that from your perspective?
You got to get to root cause. And again, as a business consultant, I do a lot of root cause analysis, and I help companies go through transformational change, which means it's like a metamorphosis. You're not coming back. It's truly a transformational kind of change, and the only way to do that is to get truly to the root cause. The problem we have, Kevin, is that we live in a society that deals more with symptoms. Our entire medical system is all about, you have a cold, you take a pill. You have a headache, take a different pill. You start to get down to root cause, and you find out where the root causes are, and you solve the problem at that level, the headache doesn't come back. So that's what we have to do. And so to your question about, what about somebody who's going to naturally be afraid or naturally be upset in a certain situation? Here's what they have to realize is, first of all, who is it that's upset? Is it truly me, or is it the ego? Because the ego wants you to think it's you, that you and the ego are one and the same. So most people identify with the ego. They have no idea who they truly are. Their capital S self, if you will, their true spiritual self. And the ego blocks that. And it's the ego that's fear-based. It's the ego that's dualistic in nature. So the ego's always thinking win, lose, good, bad, right, wrong. It's dualistic, okay? Whereas the spirit and the mystic is contemplative and united. There's yin and yang. It's not good or bad, it's balance, it's harmony, it's contrast. If we don't have dark, we can't know what light is. If we don't have up, we can't know what down is. So the entire universe is in a beautiful, harmonious, balanced state. But the ego disagrees. The ego wants to say, no, that's good and that's bad. You're right and he's wrong. My religion's better than your religion. My country is better than your country. My school's better than your country. It's in this dualistic, combative, that's a thought system. When I talk about ego, I'm not talking about your personal ego or my personal ego, the way a lot of people talk about ego. I'm talking about the ego thought system is the same whether it's you attaching to it or me attaching to it or somebody in China or Hong Kong or Brazil. The thought system's the same. And that thought system is where fear comes from. It's where doubt comes from. It's where this dualistic nature comes from. So the first thing we have to realize is whenever I'm feeling upset, anxious, angry, it's actually not me. It's the ego thought system that I'm associating with. And once I awaken to that, and this is what the Buddha taught, and this is what Jesus taught, and this is what Lao Tzu taught, and this is what all the great masters have taught. Once I awaken to that trap, I can truly find enlightenment. I can truly find salvation. I can truly find nirvana, whatever you want to call it. Now, very few people on this planet today can honestly claim to be there. But there are people on the planet in that state, all right? And it's a very powerful state to live in because you just don't get worked up about what everyone else gets worked up about. And because you don't attract it. You truly live in nirvana now. And heaven isn't a place you go to someday. It's not some destination out there. It's a state of mind. And even the Pope has recently said that. Heaven is a state of mind. It's not another time or place. It's here and now when you choose to think that way.
So true. I'll add something in here that's a bit off center, but I bet you that when you do pass on, potentially you're still trying to work it all out, and you could still be in as much pain if you haven't figured things out before you cross still. I don't think there's any, this is just an experience we're having here on a nursery level, yeah, sure, but I bet you where we go to, it's still there is no ultimate truth, but there are a remembrance of who we are, and that's what you're talking about by coming into this space. Yeah, completely. And really, you're a really, really interesting person. You really do cover so many aspects, and I don't want I think we've laid some great groundwork there to enter into Zentrepreneur, which is your latest book. I'd really like to ask you this question as well. What is your purpose as you see it now?
Salvation. Okay, and I'm quoting from A Course in Miracles, of course, but we're all here to wake up. You can put different labels on it, different words on it, but we're here to learn, and we're here to help one another out. We're here to help save one another, in a sense, and not destroy one another. So, my purpose is to help people wake up, and I can't do that if I don't wake up. So, forgiveness is a form of salvation. And, I've been hurt many times by people. And, 10, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I didn't respond in the same way that I do today. Okay? I respond very differently today. I respond with forgiveness and unconditional love. And that's a very different way to respond to somebody who's just robbed you, which happened to me recently. To my wife of 26 years who decided to leave me for someone else. I've been through some painful times, and instead of responding with anger and resentment and revenge and some of these ego responses, I responded a lot like Jesus responded when he said, "Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." Okay? So to a large extent, we're all ignorant, and we're all asleep. We're not really awake, we're not really present, and we're not really aware of who we truly are because we're so associated with the ego. But once we transcend that ego thought system and we start to awaken to our sacred self, wow, it's amazing what we can do, and it's amazing how we feel when we do it.
Wow, okay, so okay. If you don't mind just talking about that really, difficult time that you've just been through, I'd like to ask you just one question on that, really, which is, you still had to go through a grieving process, obviously.
Not really. Grieving is a way of thinking that's attached to the ego, because the ego thinks in terms of loss. At a spiritual level, there is no loss. Okay, it's an illusion. There's no fear at the spiritual level. That too is an illusion. All right? When we're truly present and we're truly awake, we don't experience grief, we don't experience loss. So let's just say, for example, in fact, I just lost a close friend to cancer. Okay, I just lost my great aunt at 99 years old just a few days ago as well. I've lost my father. Okay. And even people who haven't physically passed on. I lost my wife of 26 years, who I love dearly. Those kinds of losses, I know I haven't really lost them. Okay? I know that we're still connected at a deeper level and always will be. That's salvation, Kevin. That's nirvana. That is... That is an entire different way to go through life, all right? Does it mean that we don't feel sad for certain people from time to time? Yeah, of course, we feel compassion. We feel, again, that unconditional love. I took my wife out to lunch just a couple of weeks ago. She's hurting, actually. She's actually tried to reconcile and put the marriage back together again. But I've recently remarried myself, so I'm no longer available. But I still have great compassion for her, and will do what I can to help. I pray for her every day.
Of course. Yeah, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it just goes to show the space that you come from, that you are proof of living your own work, in a sense, your own truth. Your own truth. I think that's more what we're saying here. Well, thank you for sharing that. Again, it's just very interesting. why the book Zentrepreneur?
Well, it was an idea that appeared to me, and combining something I've practiced for many years, which is Zen Buddhism and Tai Chi and yoga and meditation. I do a variety of meditations, a lot of Taoist meditations, in fact, some Hindu, some Buddhist. I grew up Catholic and going to church every Sunday, if not every day. I went to Catholic University, the University of Notre Dame. So I've had a deep interest in spiritual truth for my entire life. And but what I love about Zen is the whole idea of harmony and balance and poise and grace and peace of mind and presence. And as a business consultant for the last 28 years, and as a business executive and manager for 5 or 6 years before that, I found it missing in the workplace. I didn't see a lot of balance and a lot of poise and a lot of grace and harmony and teamwork. I saw a lot of cutthroat activity, a lot of one-upsmanship, violent labor strikes, just backstabbing, just really, And so I thought, what if I find a way to bring more inner peace and presence into a somewhat hostile environment, the business environment, kind of that cutthroat Wall Street environment. So I put the word Zen together with entrepreneur to frame up a concept, if you will, of bringing balance to action, bringing peace to manifestation through risk taking and doing something. And it was essentially it is a book about what I do for a living. I bring peace and presence into the workplace in harmonious business systems. So there's better. The key word is flow, and it's not just product flow and service flow and information flow, but in business it even translates into cash flow.
Yeah, and I always remember reading Neil Donald Walsh's book. And I think it might have been book 2, Conversations with God. It talked about how different the world would be if there was transparency in the world, and there was transparency in corporations.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of games being played, and it's it's tough to tell you what's tough is to see people inside those corporations and systems who see it and yet still put up with it because it's a paycheck. And they got a family and a mortgage and they've got things to do. So people just go along. And it takes a real pioneer and a real bold change agent to come in and shake things up at the level that I do. And I'm not very popular in some boardrooms in some companies because I call it out.
Yeah, I bet you do. Well, can you give us some examples of implementing Zentrepreneur ideas into corporations without being too specific on the companies that you've worked with?
I'd be happy to, because I've worked with a number of Fortune 100s. I've worked with military units. I've worked in 30 plus countries with different companies in different industries. And you have to be careful, Kevin, because if I go in and I say, all right, we're going to start teaching meditation classes and doing the morning Om, and people will throw you out the door. Business executives, especially publicly traded companies, they have to deliver results every quarter. So I'm also skilled in it. It's referred to as black belts and master black belts. It's not martial arts, but it's something called Lean Six Sigma. And in business, that translates into Lean is really something that evolved out of the Toyota production system. And a key word in a Lean system is flow. You have grace and flow. It's like an orchestra. Everything just works in harmony. And you don't single out any one instrument as better than another instrument, or any one department that's better than another department. If the whole thing doesn't play well together, you don't have a good, lean, healthy, balanced system, all right? And a good metaphor is the human body. If the human body with all of its systems, its nervous system, its muscular skeletal system, its endocrine system. If the body's not in harmony and balance, well, you know what happens. People get sick and perish, potentially. So that's the lean part of it. And then Six Sigma is just a statistical term for very, very little variation. So we're very precise in everything we do. Everything, it's timed, it's sequenced, it's you know it's going to work. And so 25, 30 years ago, Lean and Six Sigma were evolving in business in separate offices, you know, separate departments. They weren't in harmony, and so they've come together over the years. And myself, among a number of others, have trained what are now called black belts and master black belts and green belts in these business practices to bring more harmony and grace to the business system. So a great man named W. Edwards Deming, he was the statistician that went to Japan in the 40s and 50s and taught total quality management to the Japanese, and he's he's passed now, but he's a legend over there. Deming once said, "Put a good person in a bad system wins no contest." I see that all the time, Kevin. I go into companies that bad systems. They have bad hiring systems, bad training systems, bad communication systems, bad production systems, bad distribution systems, bad logistics systems, whatever. And you got a lot of good people struggling just to try to get through the day because the system's so dysfunctional. So I don't go in and start focusing on the people individually. And I'm going to try to help you deal with stress, through meditations or things like that. I go in and I help create and design and implement much better business systems where people are just like, hallelujah. Now, I don't do it in isolation. I form teams with those people. This is what Zentrepreneurs do. We spread the Zentrepreneur practice, if you will. We find creative, pioneering people within these organizations who are sharp and motivated, and they help design and reinvent whatever it is the business is doing in a much leaner, more precise, more user-friendly way. And voila, okay, we have a very different world. I'll give you one quick metaphor. If you think about how we watched a movie at home 10 years ago, you'd think, well, if you're sitting on the couch and you wanted to watch a movie on television that wasn't on television, what was the process? And you could map this all out with Post-its and stuff like we do. Well, you get off the couch, you get in the car, you drive to the video store, okay, Blockbuster or whoever, of course Blockbuster's gone today, and you go through this 20-step process. You find yourself sitting back at the couch and you just hope it works, right? That took time, it took money, it took risk. A Zentrepreneur or a team of Zentrepreneurs was out there, and this is true, saying, why do they have to get off the couch? Why can't we find a way to allow people to watch movies without leaving the couch? They don't have to get in the car, they don't have to drive anywhere, they don't have to go to a store. And of course now we've got online movies and on-demand movies and all, Netflix showed up and said, we'll just deliver it to your door, whatever, and then we'll stream it to you. But that's a different way of thinking, right? And I like to ask people today in business, how many of you are on the market for a Six Sigma video disc, video, VHS? And the answer is, nobody. So Six Sigma is irrelevant if the product's obsolete. I don't care how good your quality is. If you're not thinking outside the box today, you could be just moving chairs around on the Titanic. Not a good plan.
Absolutely. I mean, it's changed so much, hasn't it? I mean, it really has.
You look at companies like Circuit City here in the States. Circuit City was written as one of the case studies in a book called Good to Great 15 years ago. Good to Great was on every CEO's desk around the world. It was a great book written by a guy named Jim Collins. And he found 11 companies out of over 1,400 that passed a very strict test to go from good to great. One of those companies was Circuit City. Guess where they are today? They're gone. So there's a sequel to the book, Good to Great to Gone. I'm just kidding. But that's how the world's changing. I bring that up because you've got companies like Borders Books. great, huge bookseller, gone. Blockbuster Video, gone. Where's Kodak today? How are they doing? These are great companies. And, a lot of jobs at risk, a lot of retirement plans and investors' money at risk. So we live in a very challenging, innovative, creative world. And this is where the Zentrepreneurs are so important, because they're the fearless ones out there finding better, faster, lower cost, more user-friendly ways for people to live.
Right. So, and this is interesting because in your book, it's unusual. It was unusual to me to begin with because in the chapters it was, what if? Chapter 2, why? Chapter 3, why not? Chapter 4, who? 5, how? 6, when?
Yep.
And you've just mentioned some of those words as well in the way that you would approach as a Zen these challenges in business, and we can also approach these in our own personal life as well. I'm sure we can, right? In some respects. Yeah, but just sticking to those chapters, just explain those, the what ifs, the why not. Is this, as you say, the asking of the question? Let's, what if we do something different? What if we go outside the box? Why does it have to be this way?
Exactly. So the book is designed to be contemplative. So that's the mystical Zen part of it. Mystics are contemplative. All right, they don't immediately think right, wrong, good, bad. They transcend that ego thought system to a contemplative. Maybe it's both. Maybe there's value in both as opposed to either or. So what if, chapter 1 is just contemplate. What if you try something different with your life? What if you take a risk that you've been afraid to take? What if you write a book or start a radio show? What if you take a dance class? What if you learn Tai Chi or yoga? Okay? There's a countless amount of what ifs in the world. So take time, and this is something you can do at home or at work. Take time to brainstorm the what ifs. What do you want to do with your life? Write your own eulogy. Think out ahead to what do you want to be remembered as? And what if you try something different? All right, that's just chapter 1. Chapter 2 and 3 go together, and you said it a minute ago. Chapter 2 is called Why, and chapter 3 is Why Not. That's contemplative. So why do it? Why not do it? And if you stop and you think about it, I gave an example in the book when I first was playing around with the idea of Zentrepreneur. What if I write a book called Zentrepreneur? Well, why do it? And list all the reasons why. Well, why not do it? Well, list all the reasons why not to do it. It could be a flop. It could cost money. Nobody will buy it. Nobody will understand it. By contemplating the why and the why nots, you gain intelligence. You gain wisdom and strength, because now you can outsmart the potential risks. In business consulting, we call it FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis. It's a tool that essentially challenges you to think about in any situation, what could go wrong, how serious is that, what could I do to prevent it? So if you look around us today, we've got all kinds of mistake proofing, what the Japanese call poka-yoke. We've got all kinds of poka-yokes around us so that we can't leave our lights on in our car and burn the battery out. They go off by themselves. We can't plug in the computer wrong because the sockets are designed a certain way, all kinds of stuff. So the book is designed to get people to just be in a playful, creative, Zentrepreneur mindset, contemplate, what if I try something, why do it, why not do it? But then it takes you through some very practical things, like how do I do it and who can help me with the how? All right, because, we're foolish to think we're in this alone. So I always like to say, ask who can help you with the how. Maybe you know how, maybe you don't. But consider who can help you with the how.
That's so important, actually. When you look at anything that you're looking to start, so if you're looking to start your own business or whatever it may be that you're looking to do in your life, it's when you ask that question, who could help me? Because we can't always do it on our own, can we? That's my point.
Well, it's the ego maybe telling you that you can, but wisdom, the sage inside you tells you otherwise. So, I mean, we do sometimes like to idolize certain people, and we love heroes and heroines and things like that. But you know what? Behind every great, successful person is a team. And I think it's absolutely critical to know that. And I give examples in the book. For example, when I first started my company 28 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to start a consulting practice. So I bought books on how to do it. I went out and talked to people on how to do it. I humbled myself, if you will, to say I need help. I didn't know how to write a book. So one of my sisters loaned me a book on how to write a book. And I read a book on how to write a book. And then I talked to people who'd written books. And I made plenty of mistakes on top of that. But I'm a huge believer, Kevin, in self-help and in bringing wise people into your car with you through audio, or bringing these days with YouTube videos and things like that. We have a global library at our fingertips, and why wouldn't we learn from the very best at something when we can invite them right into our living room or our study or our car and listen to them and contemplate what they have to say? I'm a huge believer in that.
Oh, it's so true. You've only got to switch, with your smart TVs nowadays on, or your smart Blu-ray players. You've got your YouTube access on there, or on your iPhone, whatever it may be, your smartphone. And yeah, you're right. A lot of the great materials from self-help to the spiritual gurus as well. They're all there, and it's an amazing time.
Oh, it is. It's truly fascinating to be able to have that kind of information at your fingertips. I didn't when I started. When I started my company, I was literally reading hard copy books and cassette tapes. Okay, we didn't even have CDs at the time, so I'm popping cassette tapes into my car or into my little boom box, and spending hours a day listening to sage leaders on various topics that interested me. And I can't tell you how much of a difference it made. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if I hadn't done that.
No. The wisdom just pours out of you. It does. It's really lovely to be in your presence and have this conversation with you. I must say that. Just before we get on to the next question, something else I really wanted to ask you as well. Coming from a Zen entrepreneur, in a sense, a Zentrepreneur, if we're looking at starting a business from this space that you suggest, and I think it's a great place to be, what if we also want to make our company spiritual in a sense? What could that mean that we could do different from other companies, and is that possible?
Well, it's very possible, but it starts with you. It starts with the owner. Starts with me in my business. And so if I'm going to make my company spiritual, and I'm going to spread that, if you will, to my clients, to my supply chain, to the other people, co-authors. I've co-authored some books with other people. If I'm going to spread that, it's got to start with me. So I have to embody spirit, and I have to demonstrate what it's like to be fearless and free and forgiving and compassionate and unconditionally loving and joyful. Okay, I think joy is a critical piece because it's hard to fake it. It's like integrity. You can't fake integrity. You're either whole and complete and integrous. You're either truly joyful or you're not. And then when people witness that with me, they'll say, how come you don't get stressed? How come you don't get freaked out about this or that? I'll say, do you really want to know? Because I can teach you, but you gotta be willing to pay attention and let go of a lot of programming that you've grown up with. Because we've all been programmed with ego thinking. It's human nature to be ego attached. And we've got to let that go. And it's the one true death, so to speak, we do experience. When we let go of the ego, it doesn't die, by the way, but it dies from us. And that's where we're awakened, if you will.
Well, you imagine those on death's doorstep about to cross over. I bet they lose it then. So really, my point is, if why wait till then?
Precisely.
Why,
I sat on a panel.
yeah.
I don't know if you know the name Danian Brinkley, but Danian's a 3-time.
Oh, I do. Yes.
Saved by the Light. Danian's written 3 New York Times bestsellers. He asked me to sit on a panel with him last year in San Francisco. I don't know, for your audience, Danian's been clinically dead 3 times and come back from the light to write these bestsellers and to share. And he runs something now called the Light Brigade, which is essentially a hospice for veterans. So veterans who are about to cross over, he helps them by helping them understand that you're actually not dying. You're just getting rid of your body, and you're going to experience something very different. Let me tell you about what you're going to experience and how beautiful it is. And just how amazing your next experience is going to be, because he's been there, so to speak. Actually, we've all been there to some extent, but we've forgotten. So,
well, we come from there, don't we? Probably
we come from there, and we return to there, but we cross through a veil, and we don't remember where we came from, and we get programmed even before we're born. If a mother is stressed and she's carrying us, in her womb. If she's anxious, if she's, that cortisol that's running through her is running through us. So even before we're physically here, we're already experiencing fear and stress. And then between the ages of 0 and 6, we're in a theta frequency, which is a frequency, an energetic frequency master meditators try to get back into to reprogram themselves. It's a very programmable frequency. So when a young child is 0 to 6 years old, they're getting downloaded, Kevin, with all kinds of do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs and fears and phobias, and it goes right into the subconscious mind, and they run the rest of their life on the subconscious mind. Over 95% of your life is run by the subconscious mind, which means it's your autopilot and you don't even know what it's thinking.
Well, I know my nieces and nephews spend a lot of time on the naughty steps. So,
well, that's a scary statistic. If over 95% of our life is run by the subconscious mind and we don't know what it's thinking, and it's an autopilot, it's just running on programs. By the way, the conscious mind isn't present most of the time. It's thinking about tomorrow or next week, or it's thinking about last year or last week. So the conscious mind's elsewhere, meaning the subconscious mind's running our day-to-day affairs, all right? And it's a creature of habit. So the subconscious mind just continues to repeat what's always worked for us in the past. Thus, we're creatures of habit until we wake up to that and realize I got a whole lot of viruses in my subconscious mind that I need to delete, all right, so that I'm free. And I'm more awake and alert and aware to what's really going on. But again, most people aren't even aware of the difference between the conscious and subconscious mind in the process that we're all going through that we call life.
No, that's so true. That's so true. And just one other question I've got a few actually, but what this is interesting in the sense of what is the greatest obstacles to being successful?
Yeah, I'll start with fear. Okay, because fear is a true inhibitor, all right? And there's a whole chapter in the book Zentrepreneur called Yeah, But, right? So, I have a what if, and I think I want to do this, and we're always going to get met with, to some degree, by these yeah, buts. Yeah, but you're too young, or you're too old, or you need more education, or, this isn't a good time. You can't make any money doing that, whatever. There's just endless yeah buts. So it's that inner resistance and insecurity that plays out as a form of fear that really holds us back. A great question for your audience to contemplate is, how would your life be different today if you had no fear whatsoever? Just think about that. If you had no fear whatsoever, what might you be doing? What risks would you be taking? What would you be going for? And you start to realize that, fear has really held me back. I've gotten in my own way. Now,
Can I just ask you a question there? Keep your train of thought. Can I, just a quick. When you say what would if we had no fear, but we may have responsibilities though.
Yeah, we're afraid we're going to screw them up, right?
Yeah, we have a mortgage to pay. We've got.
So what's going on is we're afraid the idea won't work. So what we tend to do is assume, because it's all a world of assumption. We have no facts about the future. So if we're going to try something, we have to assume it's either going to work or it's not, right? Fear comes from the assumption it's not going to work. I'm going to screw it up, all right? Excitement and motivation comes from the assumption it is going to work. So, look, I like to use the metaphor of a quarterback in American football walking up to the line of scrimmage. I can relate to this because I was a competitive quarterback.
Oh, yes,
yeah. But you walk up to the line of scrimmage, and the honest truth is you don't know what's going to happen. You know what you'd like to happen. You've got a play called. You've got a game plan, and you've been practicing all week, and everybody knows what they're supposed to do. But the honest truth is you have no idea what's going to happen. You could get hurt. You could score. You could lose yardage, whatever, right? And I love that as a metaphor for life, because we get up in the morning. We got an agenda, we got an itinerary, we got things, a to-do list, we got goals. We don't know what's going to happen. So how do we approach the day? Do we approach it with the assumption, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to have a great day. All right? Boy, feel how that changes your mood. Or do we approach it with, oh man, I got this big presentation I got to give, and what if I screw it up? Or I got all this stuff on my mind, and how do we approach the day? I'll tell you what, if a quarterback walks up to the line of scrimmage and is freaking out and stressing out, game over. All right. So you learn in certain roles, you got to be poised and graceful and zenful, if you will. That's why, coaches like Phil Jackson bring Zen masters in to teach Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Shaq. He literally did that. We need to be present and we need to be focused to win championships. So fear is a projection of our own mind. What scares me doesn't scare you necessarily, and vice versa. It's projected from us. And it's coming from the assumption we're going to screw something up or hurt ourselves or fail. So yeah, the mortgage doesn't get paid. We lose the house. The kids don't have anything to eat. Let me tell you something. I started my company in 1988 after being fired from a job with no savings, and my wife was pregnant with our second child. It was not the time to start a new business. All right? But it was a compelling calling. It was, call it intuition and call it divine intervention, conversations with God. It was, I need to do this. And it was tough as heck for a couple of years. But I've never looked back. So there's always those yeah buts, not a good time. Yeah, but you should wait till you have more money in the bank and then try it. But the yeah buts just keep repeating themselves. Pretty soon you're 75 years old and you're going, yeah, but now I'm too old. Yeah, but and regret's not a healthy frequency, energetic frequency.
No.
So I'll add this one comment because I wanted to take it one level deeper. All right, because fear is clearly a factor. Insecurity, doubt, these are all incompetence. I don't know how to. But beneath it all, and at the true root cause of every problem I see on this planet is ignorance. The Buddha said it 2,500 years ago. Jesus said it. I mean, all the great masters said it. At the root cause of every problem that we face on this planet, we don't know any better. We all think we're doing the right thing. Terrorists think they're doing the right thing. All right? Everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. And that's Socrates said that. Everybody's motivated by what they think is right. But what you think is right and what somebody else thinks is right might be two completely different things, right? Because we don't know any better. And so when we start to realize that ignorance is truly a problem, and the only true solution to ignorance is awakening, is coming out of these comas that we're all in, these deep sleeps that we call the ego thought system, and awakening to unconditional love, forgiveness, and true salvation. That is the solution, but it's a very tough one for most people to get and to accept and to trust.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, I channel, and it's said to me recently, in the videos that I do, how much of you love today? How much of you love today? And it's just what you're saying as well. It's the solution, because when you come from that space, it's a ripple effect to those around you. It says to me, if you want to change the world, change those around you. Now, I'd heard that before. I never believed in it until it came through like that, because I see it now. It's what you're saying as well. We're not saying anything different. So thank you for sharing that with the audience.
Yeah, Course in Miracles says love has no grievances. True love is without grievance. It's without grief.
Yeah.
It's without attacked thoughts. It's true forgiveness, true inner peace, and recognizing that we're all connected, we're all one. But the ego doesn't think that way. The ego defines love as something you fall in and out of. Well, I did love her, or I did love him, but I don't anymore. That's not love. All right? And so we play games with this word love, but true love is it's our essence. It's where we all come from. But then we subconsciously get programmed to think otherwise.
Yep, completely. And if anyone can take away anything in this interview as well, it's you. It's what you're practicing as well, and the wisdom that you've spoken of today. What would you say in this book would be the most important message that you could give to an audience? What would you say is your most important message?
That you're in your own way, and until you get out of your own way, pointing the fingers at anybody else is delusional. Okay? It's taking a victim consciousness, okay? And this book is not for victims who want to continue to be victims. This book is about waking up and taking ownership and realizing that what I think and what I put out in terms of vibrational frequency manifests into what I reap. So what I sow is what I reap. So if I want to change what I'm reaping, I have to change what I'm sowing, and this book teaches you exactly what to change, okay, to make that transformation. By the way, Danny and Brinkley is one of the endorsers for this book. You mentioned you know Danny from Saved by the Leg. Danny is a big fan of Zentrepreneur.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Well, I know of him, but I don't know him. But yeah, that's a great endorsement. It really is.
I'm honored. I'm honored
for
that. And there are several other New York Times bestsellers who've endorsed the book, and I'm honored to have that kind of support.
Good on you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been putting some of your books on the screen, obviously the latest one and your website, so people can get in contact with yourself. And you offer consultations as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I do everything I can, Kevin, to help people out online. All right, my time is pretty restricted as far as phone calls and things like that. And most of my time is contracted out by big organizations who are bringing me in to help change their whole culture, the way they do things around here, their systems, structure, culture. And but the cheapest way to get my advice is from one of the books. But if people put an email out to me, I'd make every effort to respond and do what I can to help them out. Absolutely.
Well, John Murphy, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin. Cheers to you and your audience, and I hope I can come back sometime.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.